Hi children, hope you all have completed revising the complete chapter and now let us take a quick recap on the chapter. First, you want to know types of sectors based on economic activities. There are three types: primary, secondary and tertiary. You need to know the other names. Primary sector is otherwise called as agriculture and related sector. Secondary sector is otherwise called as industrial sector. Tertiary sector is otherwise called as service sector. Then you must know the definitions. Primary sector means if you are producing something by using natural resource, and that is primary. Then secondary, if you are converting the raw materials into valuable product by processing in industries, then that is secondary. And tertiary, it is different because it is supporting primary and secondary. It is not producing any product by itself. Clear? Then you must know the examples. Primary example is something special because each carries 3 marks, right? Why cotton is coming under primary, why dairy is coming under primary, because both are dependent on natural factors and the final product produced is also a natural one, hence it is coming under primary. And secondary, cotton is converted into cloth and industry, earth is converted into brick and industry, so they are coming under secondary sector. And tertiary, what are the things supporting primary and secondary? Transport, banking, everything, right? So those things which are supporting, you need to bring here. Clear? And there are some examples which actually are not supporting primary and secondary in production, but they are doing services. So what are the examples for that? Teachers, lawyers, doctors, administrators, etc. Clear? And coming to the next topic, how to count the value of goods. Here we should not count the number of goods, we should take the value of goods. So while calculating the value of goods, what precaution we should take? We should take only the final value of final goods. Clear? So what is final good? Look at the bottom of the picture. Maize is converted into flour and then converted into popcorn. So here maize and flour are acting as raw materials and it is converted into valuable product called popcorn. So maize and flour, which are the raw materials, are said to be intermediary products, and finally popcorn, which is going to the consumer, it is called as final product. Clear? So this is the thing you need to remember, what is intermediary and what is final product. Now coming into the calculation, look here, farmer is producing 1 kg of maize and he is selling 1 kg of maize for rupees 10. Flour mill, they are purchasing the maize, that is 10 per kg, and totally how much kg they have given you here? 2 kg. So you need to calculate for 1 kg. So 2 kg of flour rupees 30 means 1 kg of wheat is 15 rupees. Clear? And then popcorn factory, they are purchasing 2 kg of flour and using 2 kg of flour they are producing 6 packets of popcorn where they are earning 60 in total. So that means each packet costs rupees 10. So as they have given you for 2 kg, you need to take for 1 kg. Clear? 1 kg of flour, they can make 3 packets and they can earn 30 rupees. Clear, children? So in question, you must be very keen on how many kgs and how many rupees they have given, because finally they may ask you for 3 kgs, they may ask you for 1 kg also. So if you calculate step by step with 1 kg, it will be very easy for you to calculate finally. Clear? So 1 kg of maize rupees 10. So next step, 1 kg of flour is rupees 15, and next step, 1 kg of flour they are making 3 packs and that is rupees 30. Like that you need to calculate. Clear, children? So final value of 1 kg of maize here is rupees 30. Clear, children? So they may give you different types of raw materials and final product, but stepwise calculation is same. And then you want to know about GDP calculation. So what is GDP? Finally you want to conclude it. The values of final products in primary, secondary and tertiary are calculated and sum of the final values in 3 sectors gives GDP. Who will calculate GDP? The central government along with state government departments, they will calculate it. After that we discussed about historical changes, and here early stages. The developed countries in their early stages of development, they were very much developed in primary sector. Clear? And in primary sector methods of farming changed, so the people, they started to take some other activities, and anyway most of the products produced in that time period, they were natural products, and hence more production was done in primary sector, more people were employed in primary sector. So primary sector was very important in initial stages. But after 100 years, methods of manufacturing changed. Lot of factories came. Lot of people, they started to work in factories. So they produced large number of goods at cheapest price. And here more number of employment is found in secondary and more production is done in secondary. So secondary sector became important. So the importance of sector shifted from primary to secondary. Again, after 100 years, what happened? Lot of people got employment in tertiary and lot of production is done with the help of tertiary sector. So here again the shift of importance is found from, yes, secondary to tertiary. So this thing you want to remember, first primary was important, then secondary, now tertiary. So developed countries at the early stages of development, which sector was important? Primary sector. Yes. And then you want to know about importance of tertiary sector. I told you this is a 5-mark question. So there you want to remember about 4 keywords. First thing, basic services. Basic services means like hospitals, education, police stations. These things are said to be basic services. They are very important for any countries. Developed countries, these things are available, but developing countries, government need to provide it. And next, if primary sector and tertiary sector develops, then tertiary sector will also automatically develops. Clear? Primary and secondary sector leads to the growth of tertiary sector. And after that, if these 3 sectors are growing, income of the people will increase and they will go for private services. So like private school, private hospitals, tourism, shopping and all. And recently IT as a service sector is growing a lot. But all service sectors are not equally growing well. Some of these service sectors are growing but some are not. So why we are saying so? In one end, there are limited opportunities for educated people. But on the other hand, cobblers, shopkeepers, then headmen, then rack pickers, drivers, these kind of people, they are barely earning. They are earning very, very less amount. They cannot survive easily. Okay, so that is making the conclusion all service sectors are not equally growing. Okay, and then we discussed about that graphs and all, right, about employment, production and GDP. In secondary sector, production increased by 9 times, but employment increased just by 3 times. In tertiary sector, production increased by 14 times, but employment increased just by 5 times. And here, primary sector, it is having more than half of the population engaged in employment. But actually, the production is just 1/4 of the GDP. Secondary and tertiary sector, less than half of the people are working, but GDP wise 3/4 of the GDP is coming. Okay, so why this is happening? Primary sector, these many people are working, but why the production is less? Because people more than necessary are working there. If you remove few people also, production will remain unaffected. This is called as disguised unemployment. Okay, and why this is called as disguised unemployment? Because if you look into the people who are actually unemployed, they are visible outside. But here these people, as they are looking like working, it is not visible as unemployed. They are looking like they are working, but actually they are not. As it is hidden, it is called as disguised unemployment. Clear? So you want to be familiar with both the terms, underemployed, disguised unemployment. Clear? Labor effort gets divided. They are working less than their potential. That is called as underemployed. Clear, children? And after that, we discussed about how to create employment to these people. So government should provide loan for constructing well. Government should construct dams and canals. And if well, dams, canals are available, people will cultivate more crops. So to transport it, government need to develop the transportation facilities. And then government should also give loans for agricultural inputs, for buying fertilizers, pesticides, tractors and all. And also government should start some industries in rural areas so that people can come and sell their products. And next thing we discussed about education and health, tourism. Education sector alone can give 20 lakh job opportunities. Tourism alone can give 35 lakh job opportunities. But developing education center, health center and tourism is not shortly possible, right? They will take long period. So now the government is taking a measure which can be done in short time, and that is right to work. They started this right in 200 districts first, and later they added 130 districts. Again, they included all the districts under this particular scheme in the name of NREGA 2005, National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So under this act, they will be giving job for those who are able to work and those who are in the need of work. If they are not having job, if the government cannot give that 100 days work, government will give them unemployment allowances. Clear? And after that, we discussed about types of sectors based on employment generation. If you find the question types of sectors, immediately want to check for the next word, whether it is economic activities or employment conditions. If it is employment, you need to remember about organized, unorganized. Organized sector means the company will be registered with the government. They will be following all the rules and regulations of the government. Job security will be there. Fixed salary will be there. Fixed working time will be there. Then paid holidays, paid leave, provident fund, gratuity fund, safe environment for working, everything will be there. But unorganized, it will be different from organized. It is not registered with the government. Rules and regulations are there, but they are not following it. And here, no job security, no paid leave, no paid holidays, no PF, no gratuity fund. And here, many organized sectors are becoming unorganized sector. Why? Because they don't want to pay tax and they don't want to follow the labor laws. That is why many organized sectors are becoming unorganized sectors. Okay, fine. Who are the people vulnerable to unorganized sectors? Which kind of people they can be easily pushed into unorganized sector? Means there are three categories: in rural, in urban, and socially. In rural side, small farmers, marginal farmers, artisans, sharecroppers. These people, they are an unorganized sector. If you go to urban areas, small scale workers, casual workers, then headload men, rag pickers. These people are vulnerable. And socially, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, backward communities are the people who are facing discrimination, and most of these people are found to be in unorganized sector. So here the government need to take some measures to protect them, and you also need to remember the measures. After that, we discussed about the types of sectors based on ownership. Ownership means what? Who owns the enterprise? If private individual is owning the company, then that is private sector. If the government is owning the industry, then that is public sector. Here, what is the motive for private and public? For private, profit is the main motive. For the public, not only profit, welfare of the society is also their motive. Clear? And then we discussed about some examples, right? Private sector, they cannot do some activities. For example, road construction, bridge construction and all. Private individual, they cannot do it because they cannot invest that much amount. If they can invest that much amount, collecting the amount from people will not be easy. For example, if private is producing electricity, what will happen? They will charge high amount. So small scale industries, they cannot pay that much amount, and their shops, that is their industries, will be shut down. That is why public sector need to take care of these activities. And there are two things which are said to be primary responsibility of the public, that is education and health. Why? Means in India there are large number of illiterates. So now the government should construct more schools and it should give basic elementary education to all the people. And then health. Lot of people in India, especially children, they are malnourished. So to those people, the government should give healthy food through PDS, public distribution system. So in public distribution system, government is purchasing the crops from the farmers for minimum support price. After that, they are selling those crops to the weak people, that is poor people, at fair price, the price which is lesser than market price. And these are the things you need to remember, children. So just go through the chapters and be very clear with important terms and all. And for tomorrow's exam, totally 25 marks. And it can be MCQs, match the following, calculation or anything. If you understand the chapter,